What's up, familia? Dayspring here with an episode of Power of X-Men, and I'm so excited. I am so excited for our guest. He has the best account on Instagram. He is a total vibe. He's a fellow Miami guy. Please welcome Ralph, aka No More Mutants.
What's up, Paul? Thanks for having me on, man. It's been a long time. We've talked about this, man.
I know,
This is so
man.
good to be here, man.
I
So
well,
good.
I am such a fan of your account. I say this on like
Oh,
every episode of Power of X-Men, but
thank you, sir.
I love our conversations. I love the
Yep.
posts we do. But what's more is that sometimes I have to pinch myself that we are friends because I have been following No More Mutants since I was a fucking civilian. Like on my personal account, seeing everything. In fact, I think it's happened one or two times. I accidentally tag you from my personal account because bro, you're like the OG
Thank you
on
so much.
Instagram. And it's not only that you're the OG, but your content is good.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. And by the way, I'm a fan of you, man, because the way you maintain the community, you have a pulse, man. You have the pulse of the community. You have the cosplayers. You're Mr. Worldwide. You're Mr. X-Men, Mr. Worldwide. That you get everywhere. You're everywhere. I see your stories, and you're like, I'm hopping on a plane, but let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about that. And I'm like, yo, man, you got the energy for it, because I'm an old man now. Like, as you can see all these grays, but Coño, it's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the kind words.
I know. I thank you for the kind words there. And yes, I have been made fun of because I record in like the airport at 5 in the morning. I'm like,
It's
what's going
fine,
on?
man.
We got to write about Jean Grey in the current comics.
The
But
goddess.
our God Queen. But
Yes.
the reason why we are converging today, finally, is because of that post-credit scene in the Marvels,
Yeah.
and it's leaked online, and we need to
It's
talk about
everywhere.
it. We
Yep.
report it's everywhere, so don't come after us like you guys
Yep.
did with the Wolverine and Deadpool posts.
Oh God. If people don't understand, if we're talking about it, it's because there are others already talking about it. So if we don't talk about it, then we're doing a disservice to our followers. They followed us for a reason. If you don't want to see it, I always tell everybody, take a sabbatical from the internet for 2 or 3 days until you can see the movie if you don't want any spoilers. But if that's the case, and you came online and you came to a comic book account, or it popped up on Instagram, just swipe and then close the internet and say, no, I don't want to do this. But, it's not on us. There's other people reporting on this. I mean, geez, the entire snippet is online right now.
I know it's so wild. And I just want to pull on a thread of something you said because I think this is why you and I get along so well.
Yeah.
Is that we're reporting and we try to be objective. Very rarely do I interject something. And
Yeah.
if I do, it's more for comedic, like our God Queen Jean Grey. It's dead again. How
Absolutely.
dare that? But the key here is objectivity. We're just reporting on what is already out there. You and I, we're not hacking Ryan Reynolds' account and getting
Nope.
this photo. We're not doing any of that. You and I have not even seen the Marvels right now.
Nope.
So we have been given these images. We have seen these pop up online. So we're just reporting on what is out there. And once it's out there in the way that it is right now, it's fair game, bro. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, it absolutely is. I wake up to the same thing, and sometimes people do see it earlier. I have seen movies early, but I don't post about it. But people have literally sent me in DMs, and people that I've actually had conversations, and they're like, "Hey, have you seen this?" I'm like, "I didn't want to see that, but no, I hadn't." But it's okay. It's a movie. We're all big fans about it, but we are reporting, and we're trying to help the community out with that.
Yeah,
So,
it's I wake up every morning with an onslaught of DMs, and especially if something
yeah,
happened the night before. In this
yeah,
case, with the post-credit scene, because it was shown at various fan screenings and advanced screenings. So it's funny. I don't mind spoilers. I truly don't mind
correct.
spoilers. So, but people do send it without a spoiler warning. They'll just send me
No,
the photo. They'll send me even for issues of the comic books. A couple of days
yeah.
in advance, they'll send me everything, and I'm like. That's great. I like spoilers, but in that regard, I think it's fair game, and we're just reporting on what's already
Yeah.
there.
I mean, for us, I mean, you got to think about it. Other guys who are in this industry, and we follow them for a reason. And those guys go early, or they get spoiled. Even the guys who work like at the companies who make the toys, or they have to know about it beforehand, and they didn't want to be spoiled, but they got a job to do. So I understand it like that. I have a job to do, and there's other people that are looking forward to this content, and I got to share it, and I try to give everybody the heads up, like, hey, spoiler warning, but sometimes it just doesn't happen right. So, I apologize if I mess up anybody's day, but that being the case, spoiler warning, you've been warned.
Yeah, that's right, Familia. Spoiler warning for the post-credit scene for the Marvels.
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Spoiler warning done. I cannot believe fucking Beast is one of the first X-Men in the MCU.
Out out of everybody, especially he is your absolute favorite. Am I right?
Yes,
It's like if
I love
Longshot
Beast.
showed up for me, I would have been like,
That's
I
the
would
only
have
thing
been
that would make
raging.
that better. If a long shot would have just come out there and been
I would have
like,
been raging if it would have
oh,
been Longshot. Me and Paul disagree on a few things, and this is one of them. I hate
I
Longshot,
I love long shot. I was
and he
talking
loves
to
it.
Odd Adams about how much I love
I
long
love
shot.
his wife or his baby mama, but that's about it. But yeah, Beast, man, and I was surprised. I was like, well, even as fans, just wondering back, like, how are they going to do this? Are they going to tap the first class cast? Are they going to tap the OG cast? Are they going to go with a new actor altogether? And I was really surprised that they got Kelsey in there,
Yeah,
but
Kelsey Grammer's back.
I was happy it was Kelsey. I really liked Kelsey as Beast, the older Beast, and so forth. And then they showed part of that end trailer, or that mid-credit scene is in the last trailer for Marvels when somebody stands up. And so people were speculating, is that Storm? Is that so and so? We got our answer, and it's not Storm, but it looks to be Binary. That
Yes.
would be Binary, and it's Monica's mother,
Yeah,
which
Marie.
Marie, which is Carol Danvers' best friend from the
Tomorrow.
Captain
Yeah.
Marvel movie. So she's playing Binary in the alternate X-Men universe that they've created this hole in, and he Beast, it has Monica there. So Monica is now in the crossover. She's in the universe. I mean, we haven't seen the film. We're only speculating here, but she's in the X-Men universe or something like that. So
Yeah,
it was a surprise.
we're not sure which universe is it. Is it like the proper Fox X-Men? What is it? Um, I do want to say, even though I hate Hank McCoy and he's a sociopathic motherfucker, he looks so good.
He
I
looked
can't.
good.
He looks good. This is like the animated series Beast come to life. I have to
He looked
applaud.
good.
And let me tell you, there has been such the movie has not been landing with people leading up to the release, and now it feels, because of this post-credit scene, that tide has sort of turned, and some of the
Yeah.
positive reviews are going out there. So now I'm seeing it tomorrow night, and I'm like, I can't wait. I
I,
honestly cannot wait.
I think it's because the best part of the MCU is, it may not be the film, it's the connectivity. It's
Mm-hmm.
everything connects. This has an effect on this, which has an effect on that, which has an effect on this. And that is the best part. So seeing how this will affect, let's say, the Deadpool movie, Deadpool
Yeah.
3, and we really cannot wait till they crash and everything becomes one. But all the guys who are behind me in my wallpaper, we're dying to see. I mean, I am a big Cyclops fan. That is my boy, and I thought it was going to be number one. The first X-Men, no, but they threw in Beast, and I'm like, God dang it! He was the one that went nuts and called these guys from the past to come to the present, and
um,
because Cyclops killed Charles, he did name drop Charles. That was really cool.
yeah, he says we need to go talk to Xavier now, or Charles.
Yeah.
Um, Now, is it going to be Sir Patrick Stewart or McAvoy? Which one do you sort of want?
I still would
You want
like Patrick's.
you want Peace Stew? I don't know if I want Peace Stew. I thought he
Yeah.
was a disappointment in
Really?
Multiverse. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could see how he was you know, a disappointment. But I will go back to the argument that I tell everybody about Star Wars, which is another franchise that I love, which is that's my logo behind Paul, and you can see right next to him, he's got Star Wars, he's got DC, he's got a little bit of anime, but on top it's Marvel. That's it. But the argument of like the kid from episode one, he was just reading his lines.
Yeah. I
Somebody
mean,
directed
that's
them, and
fair.
that was the great George Lucas. So at a certain point, who was it that did Spider-Man? I mean,
It
that
was Sam Raimi.
it was Sam Raimi. I said Spider-Man, but that movie, it was Raimi, and they they kind of messed it up.
I
They
agree. It
really,
was Raimi.
yeah.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, Marvel is so formulaic. They, control their directors." And I'm like, I think they gave Raimi too much freedom in Multiverse of
I think
Madness.
on that one they did because we even got our boy Ash in there,
Yeah,
the Pizza Man, and they
I
let
know he's
him
punching
do it,
himself. Yeah,
yeah, all day. But
I I want McAvoy because I just think that like even so with like the Raimi direction, I feel that Sir Patrick Stewart was just a little tired and
he
he's
was.
older, and I know his audiobook is out there right now and people are talking about how he doesn't sound too enthusiastic to be doing it. So I would want McAvoy just to capture like a hardcore 90s feel. I have to tell you, this piece, it looks so great. I cannot tell you how excited I
Yeah.
am. And it's Kelsey Grammer's voice, but he looks younger. Again, he looks like he's out of the animated series. So
Yes.
I'm really excited for that. The one that I have kind of like a question mark on is binary, because I feel the honor of being binary should have gone to Brie Larson. It is her
Yeah,
franchise.
it is.
She is the lead here, and her character is that in the comics, and it's a really interesting, approach to the character. That's not to say that I don't think
But you would have given it to Brie.
I would have given it to Brie instead of Maria, and that's just where I kind of land on it. I don't know. What are your feels on that? You
I,
walk me through it.
I when I saw it was her mom, I could see for the storyline, because she's seeing her mom. Monica's seeing her mom, and she's like, "Mom," and it's that heart-wrenching scene. It's just that I haven't seen you. You died, during the snap, and and I was gone, and all this. So those feelings come back, and those calling points come back, and that to me is what makes a good scene, a good movie. But I do think it should have gone to Brie. I think it should have been Brie. Now, if they really wanted to knock it out the park, they would have had as Miss Marvel, and they would have,
Yeah.
just visiting because or excuse me, Captain Marvel. She was Captain Marvel for the Avengers, and Beast was an Avenger at a certain point, and he was an X-Men that they could have said, "Hold on." And they had the monitor behind him, and it would have been her with the afro. I would have been all like, "Yes, they did it!"
Yeah.
And Bree looking blonde and saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, what are you doing here, girl? I don't know you." And it's like, and she, it's me, Trouble, or whatever she called her nickname. But I would have liked Brie at it, but I really would have liked Mom to be Captain Marvel because she's now binary in that
Yeah.
universe, which ties it more to the comic books. I know you guys know, so
Yeah. And in fact, like, listen, if you were going to have a Captain Marvel figure in the scene, you're going to want it to be binary. So
yeah.
whether it's Maria or Carol, that's fine. My preference would have been Brie Larson, and I wonder if they purposely didn't put Brie Larson there because Brie Larson has that quote from like D23 where they ask her, "Do you want to? How long are you going to play Captain Marvel?" And she's like, "I don't know. Does anyone even want me?" I'm like, "Oh my god, someone get Brie Larson's publicist here." So
I
I wonder
mean,
if they purposely did not want her to do that. Is sort of where I'm going with my
yeah. So they
feels.
so they let her go.
Yeah,
You've done your time. Thank you.
yeah. So if you don't
You've
want to
been
come
in
back, that's
Endgame.
fine.
You
Yeah,
did Endgame. You were there. You saved the day, and you did the girl power scene, and it was awesome, and so forth. Um, personally, me, I've never been a big fan of Bree's acting. That being
really.
said, that being said, though, my wife is watching her new Apple show,
Oh, I've heard a lot of people have
and
passed on it, but the people I've seen love it.
yo, this girl can act. This girl can really, and she's doing a great job. You gotta see this. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see. She's like, you gotta see this. And for my wife to say that, especially about an MCU actor,
Yeah.
because she usually like, it's one of your movies. But she was like, no, this girl can act. And me and you don't, we have the heat that we get from our community, on Instagram and like, hey, you spoiled this or whatever the case may be. I can only imagine the magnitude that they must get. Like the girl who's playing Kamala how much she must have gotten when the X-Men theme played at the very end and they said the word mutants and they're like, "You're not a mutant," and she's like, "I'm just doing my job. They
I
just
just got
sent me my
hired.
check.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks. I paid for my parents' house, player, and I got my own too, I'm just doing me, and it's true, they got their job to do, but I think they are doing what you said, which is like, let's give a backup just in case we don't get Bree back or we don't extend that contract. Because I think the problem is you have the original contract, the second, the third movie, and then let's say you're RDJ. How much you
Yeah.
going to pay this guy? Because now he's the backbone of your franchise. I'm not saying Bree is the backbone of the MCU, but I'm just saying you are going to have to pay more. They're expecting more.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And here's the thing, like with Kamala, I think Iman Vellani is a really talented actor, and I really truly enjoy seeing her on screen. Brie Larson, I have always historically been a fan of Brie Larson. I was just talking about this with Jeff. I loved her in United States of Terra. I loved her in Scott Pilgrim, and I loved her in
Yes.
Room. And I didn't realize it because I wouldn't have said like, "Oh, I'm such a diehard Brie Larson fan." I would be like, "Oh, I haven't really seen any of her stuff." But no, actually, I've been there for
You
her
have.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I happen to be a fan. I think the way she's handled the publicity with Captain Marvel, and in fairness to her, it's probably tough. There's no training for stuff like this. I can't
No.
imagine because exactly what you just said. We who are just like specks in the spectrum of engagement, get a lot of heat for little things. I can't imagine an actor, whether it's Iman
No.
Vellani or Brie Larson. So, you know, I think that the Marvels, though, rightfully so, did not have a good marketing campaign. It
No.
does not look interesting. The reviewers are saying otherwise. And I also think that Variety hit piece that came out last week, where they were talking about everything that was going on behind the scenes, did
Yeah.
some damage from a
Yeah.
publicity perspective.
I agree with that. And the actor strike is still in effect. So the studio isn't putting a lot of money behind marketing for this for anything.
No.
They normally would have been like, okay, you guys are going to show up at a premiere, and you're going to go here, there, everywhere. There would have been calls for a whole bunch of screenings, and I'm pretty sure there's still screenings, but I was like, yeah, it's not the same. And to me, we have heard the term the MCU,
Hmm.
a lot, and I have always felt Captain Marvel was a woman after I saw Marvel die, you
Hmm.
know, and I understood that. I was fine with that. I also saw Captain Marvel, which is Maria. She was Captain Marvel. I'm okay with Maria in there and having multiple women. I am okay. My X-Men, which are behind me. I mean, how many women are in here? We got one, two, three, four. We got Jean's out, not even seen right there. And I love my X-Men women as well as my X-Men men. But I think everybody's been, oh, they're pushing an agenda and so forth. I don't see it that way all the time. I do see it sometimes, and I'm like, guys, come on here. But I think what they really needed to focus on, which is what the Disney executive said, is quality over quantity. And we have seen the downfall of that, of like giving us so much. I didn't want all that. I wanted quality. So I
Same.
can always pound my chest and just say, you see, this is why this is why I'm a Marvel boy. That's why I love Batman, I love Superman, I love Wonder Woman. But the rest, who are these guys? Like who are no, but the X-Men, the Avengers, Spider-Man. I mean, that's why we love the MCU. But they have failed on that many times, and especially with what they did on Disney Plus with She-Hulk, was one of them. Miss Marvel suffered,
Yeah.
with that,
What
and
if?
that's what if, and she was Miss Marvel is a very important character. She came out during a time where that representation was shown in the comic book, and there was a following for it, just like Miles Morales came out at a very important time, and that representation meant something to a lot of kids. My nephew, if I ask him who's Spider-Man, he'll tell me Miles Morales. He won't say Peter Parker. He'll say, no, Peter used to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man
That's
is
Miles
Miles.
Morales.
And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. But, I have the older stories to share with my nephew and future grandkids, but I think what they did, they oversaturated it, and my fear is comic book hero fatigue on their movies.
I
because
agree.
we're living in a golden age. I mean, you're the subject matter expert on X-Men. You're the subject matter expert on the MCU, a billion-dollar industry. You're the subject matter expert, and I love that I can say that, you know?
It's, I think superhero fatigue is real, unfortunately, and I think I'm seeing it across all modes, especially with like action figures and like Marvel Legends. We love our Marvel Legends here, but
Yep.
a lot of the stuff people are just like, okay, great, thank you, next, or they just don't really care. The HasLab Giant Man was a struggle just to get that funded.
Yeah,
It's
it
curious.
was.
I think Miles Morales and Kamala Khan, they've done well with them in terms of managing those IPs. Marvel has done really well with them. Miles Morales and Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Miles Morales Spider-Man, I think having them both in the 616 has done wonders for them. I think the new Spider-Man game that just dropped is fantastic. So
Have you played it?
I'm halfway through. I'm not done. Jeff
I
finished it,
haven't
but I have
played
not
it.
finished it.
I
So
haven't
no.
played it, and
Okay.
my friends tell me that the story is 100 times better than the movie of
Oh
the
man.
animated movie. And I'm
Yeah.
like, are you serious? Because I mean, that animated movie is freaking golden. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, man, this story is so good. So good.
I'm 100% here for it. It is so much fun. I love it. I enjoy it. Everyone should be playing that. But same with Kamala, and that's why when making Kamala, I did an episode recently where I talked about that. I think Marvel has been a little unfair on how they treat Kamala as an IP. Like she's a byproduct of what's going on with the MCU film rights. We don't have the rights to the mutants. Make her an Inhuman. Oh, you know what? The Inhumans tanked. So now now that we have the Fox Disney merger, let's make her a mutant now. And I feel like the character deserves a bit
Sure.
more dignity than
Yeah.
that because she is a great character. Because she came out, she was an Inhuman. She resonated. That first volume, I say this all the time. That first volume of Miss Marvel, I enjoyed it so much. I lived in Hoboken. That was taking place in Jersey City. That
Wow.
hit close home to me. And in her show, there are certain shots that they used of Hoboken trying to pass as Jersey City. I was like, that's my waterfront. That's where I walk my dogs.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes me very happy to see that. So I want the character to succeed, but I felt like that post-credit scene for Miss Marvel was so obviously tacked on. It was some Disney executive who read a
Yeah.
Wikipedia page and was like, "Oh, let's make her a mutant," and that's sort of where I've landed. But
But they've done
I'm
this
okay being wrong.
before.
Yeah.
They've done this before. I mean, there's a girl in the MCU, but she was originally in a comic book and she said 3 words. She said my
No
account
more
name.
mutants.
And then they said, okay, well, let's change that. Let's make her
Yeah.
not a mutant. And let's make her brother not a mutant because we can't put him in the the second movie because they can't be mutants. What can they be? And they changed it. They changed their origin story there and they changed it in the comic book. And then I was like, what the hell? And there was a lot of beef. A lot of fans were like, how can you do this? Those are still Magneto's kids. Get the hell out of here, and now they made them back, right? Aren't they mutants again in the?
No,
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 they're
they're
not
not.
yet.
They're still not. They're supposed like
Yeah,
yet. I'm hoping they will. We had Leah Williams who did Trial of Magneto, and she did try to inquire about the rights for Wanda if they can make her a mutant again in the comics, and she was told no. I think it's a matter of time. But
it is.
you know what irked me the most about that? It wasn't even so much that they robbed them of the mutant status, is that they then divorced Magneto from them. And
Yeah,
I was like, at the time, because we didn't have conversations like this at the time, I'm like, okay, she would still see Magneto as her dad. You wouldn't just cut
yeah.
off ties. And I'll be shady. Tom Brevoort, I believe in his form spring, was like, well, they're no longer related, so why would they hang? It's like it doesn't matter if they're blood related or
Yeah,
not. It's
they
called
were.
found family. It's
Yeah,
adoption. The,
it's
and,
adoption.
and I was like, this guy totally is missing the point
Yeah.
of what makes the House of M special. It's not so
The,
much that they're mutants; it's that they have this family
I
bond.
have an uncle, unfortunately. This is real life, real life. So if
Real
he's
life uncle.
listening, I'm very happy you're listening to Paul's show, but shame on you. So I have an uncle. He showed up at my parents' house in 1979, was my cousin. I'm like, oh, okay. And then in the year 2018, we're throwing a surprise party for my old man, and I see my other cousins, like his kids from a different marriage. Like, hey, where's your sister? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? And lo and behold, he never told his children about his previous marriage and the girl that he had adopted. And
Wow.
I'm like, that is the silliest thing to freaking do. And here we are talking about the same thing with Magneto, and that girl kept looking for him, and they kept trying to, spark conversations back and forth. But you cannot divorce this guy from the history of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. There's too much history. Let's wipe away family ties. X-Men 4.
Yeah.
Okay, 1960 something, X-Men 4.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on. They
That
were
means
the original
something.
Brotherhood.
Yes. It's always so peculiar to me when that happens. And I don't know how someone can read that and not think
Yeah.
that's not the right way of doing it. And if for film rights, and again, I don't feel that the MCU should be leading the way for the comics. The comics should be leading the way for the MCU. Focus on telling the comics should just be totally divorced from
Yes,
what's happening
I
in.
agree with that. But did it somebody told me this, and I'm not 100% if they're accurate or not. But is Kevin now the creative head of the comics and movies?
He's like a creative officer, something like that. He has some arbitrary title, and we inquired
Okay.
about that early on when that was announced. It was announced around like 2020. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think it's had any significant impact. At least on the surface, it hasn't. Well, wait, hold up. So we do know that the writers and editors, if they're going to make any decisions with the characters, any major decisions, so like Betsy hooking up with Rachel, that
Okay.
had to be emailed to the higher ups for approval.
Gotcha.
So editorial is like beyond just CB Sabowski. They're going beyond. So maybe in that regard, Kevin's office is overseeing it, but Kevin Feige personally, I don't think is having a hand in the actual
Yeah.
comics. But that's not to say that his office isn't overseeing it. Does that make
Correct.
sense? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I can understand it. Like they have to approve it before it gets done,
Yeah.
but you can't just arbitrarily change everything.
Yeah.
Um, but that was my thing because if he's trying to pull that stunt to say no, we're going to rewrite the comic book to 616 into what we need it to be for the movies to support it. And by the way, I do give props to the actress who is Kamala
Mhm.
because my girl left she was at her screening, I think, of her show, and she's like, it's not the 616. I don't
Oh, I
care what
love
Kevin. I
that.
was like, go girl, you ballsy, go, and you tell everybody that's not the 616 because it's not the 616. I was so proud of her because she knew her crap.
She did know her crap. I,
Yeah,
I agree with you. I was very proud of that too, because it really does irk me that why would you do that? Why would you name it
yeah.
616 like that? But again, that goes to Michael Waldron, who wrote Multiverse of Madness, and Sam
Correct.
Raimi. They should not have done that. These are
They,
people, I'm sorry, I'm going to be shady. They're just not fans in the way
they're
that
they're
we are
not.
fans, or that Iman Vellani is a fan, you
Yeah,
know? So,
they're not fans like that, and I feel I was really happy when my girl said, no, that's not the right one. That's not the correct one because it's not. It really isn't. And we've known that, I think, since the beginning. I remember when the MCU started and I was looking on Wikipedia and I was like, okay, did they number it? And they sure enough had numbered the MCU universe. So I'm like, okay, so it's not the 616. And then you see the 616 dropped every so often, not in the sense of like saying this is a 616 universe, but like on the chalkboard behind the scientist, the from Jane Foster's friend, the old man that was running around,
yeah, I'm forgetting. Yes, 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 yes. I know who you're
that he
talking
was
about.
running around naked or on Stonehenge. He had it on the blackboard saying no, no, it said 616. I'm like, okay, that's cute. I could get behind that because he's looking and it's tied in together. But yeah, no, I was like, this is not the 616, and my girl knew it. So props
I
to her.
Props to her. So, are you seeing the Marvels this weekend? Are you gonna go see it now that we
I
know
have
what's
a
in post
crash.
credit?
I have a crash course wedding of my little girl in less than 22 days that I have to like run to go get me something and get my wife something. So maybe not this weekend. I'll probably see it in the theaters. I want to see it, even if I take my wife. Like, okay, come on, let's go, and she'll okay, fine, all right. But I may not get to see it this weekend. I usually try to see it ahead of schedule, but with screenings. But this week is going to be tough, and like I can't even go. I have to drive. A Macy's. You know what a Macy's is. I have
No.
to drive an hour and a half to the closest Macy's, my friend.
No.
That's how far I live from everything. I'm like, oh my God, it's
Okay.
terrible.
We're going to go see it tonight, Familia, and we're going to break it down. And those are our
Yes.
thoughts on the post-credit scene. I think largely very excited. Pleasantly
Yes.
surprised. Pleasantly surprised. Let's see how it fully is executed, the context for it. But I I'm excited for it.
I could get behind it. I definitely want to see it. I definitely want to see it and see what happens and see how it ties. That's my big thing. How does everything tie together? Because if it ties good, then I'm okay with that. But if it doesn't, I'm gonna be like, what the hell happened here?
You're like, fuck this.
When was the last time I actually said that for an MCU movie?
Oh.
Oh, that is a good question. I don't think I have left. I did say this, and I know it's on record because I actually said it out loud, and lots of people heard me. I liked the Shazam movie over the Captain Marvel movie because
Oh,
that came out like a week apart.
yeah,
And the Shazam character, his original name when my dad told me was Captain Marvel,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so I'm like, okay, out of all the Captain Marvels, and if you don't know, God, when did they do that reboot when the Celestial was in the comic books and he was on Earth? It was when they did the Avengers like 6000 AD or something,
Oh,
or BC.
yeah, yeah,
In
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
there's a panel, and on that panel, you see Carol Danvers floating in space. You see Maria
Mm-hmm.
Rambeau floating in space. That's Captain Marvel. So you have two Captain Marvels. You see Carol is a black Captain Marvel suit, and you see Shazam's foot inside a Marvel
Yeah.
comic book. I love it when
I
they do stuff like that.
forgot about that, man.
Yeah,
I'm Googling that right now. I completely
Google
forgot
that.
about that.
That was an awesome pan. That one and the other one that blew me away is the Battle World. The
The
last what
Secret
was
Wars? Secret Wars?
the last Secret
The
Wars
Hickman.
cover, which was done by Alex Ross. It
Yeah.
shows Doom and a whole bunch of fractured universes, and
Oh.
on there you see Spider-Man swinging, and
Yeah.
you see
And see Superman's
Superman's
foot.
boot. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know that comic book.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that too. I'm so glad
that
they do stuff
little
like that.
Easter eggs like that, is great. But it's
You know,
yeah, I would love to still see the X-Men versus Teen Titans
let's
in the
see that.
movies.
I know. I would love that. I
Uh,
would love to get track that down. I would love it as a trade paperback. I've looked for it,
oh, you
and
haven't found it? You can
I
find that at a con
is there.
anywhere.
Hang on, let me see. I mean, I can find it probably on eBay, but I've been looking like in person for it.
Oh, I
Um,
found it. Comic
versus
Tom had it at God, it was at New York Comic Con a few years ago.
no,
And I'm like,
yeah, I haven't
dude,
seen it. That
I've been
shit's
looking
gone
for this. He's
now.
like, Ralph, don't worry about it. Here, take it. So Comic Tom gave it to me, and I was like, hey, thanks, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm not seeing it here on eBay, but I'll look for it a little late. Oh, here it is, right
That
here.
that that's got
Oh,
that
dude,
Walt
that's a
Simon,
yeah.
that
Oh,
Walt
look at
Simon
that.
art, and that is
Oh, it's gorgeous. Look at that.
I
I
would
mean,
love that in like those big books, the ones that are just black and
yeah.
white, the
Oh,
artist
yeah.
editions.
Oh, I would love that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ralph, let me ask you a couple questions about your account because I think it's
Hit
really
me, sir.
interesting. I love how you started. Can you tell the origin story of your account, how you first got on Instagram and your wife was not having it, that you're posting this
Dude.
stuff? Please share that story for the internet because you have the biggest comic account. You have the best content and we need to
I
know
appreciate it.
the origin story for it.
So I posted on, I mean, this is Instagram in the beginning, guys. So
Year
like
one, Instagram year one.
year one, I got it. And my kids were small. Emily wanted to go see Green Lantern. I think when they announced it, she's like, "Oh, I love Green Lantern." Like she doesn't know anything, but okay. And I think it was like March,
Mhm.
and I posted my favorite comic book cover. Now, mind you, my Instagram was just personal account was made up of my kids, my wife, my dog, all that time. And like, yo, this is about me. So Uncanny X-Men 213, posting it. Wolverine versus Sabretooth. Remember that cover?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, this is still one of my favorite covers of all time. My wife came home and she's like, I don't want to see this. why is this on there? Like, well, you can swipe, you can move, you can unfollow me. She's like, there's rules to Instagram. I have to follow you. You are my husband. I have to claim you. You have to claim me. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are these rules? She's like, I don't want to see it. Why don't you start something else? I'm like, okay, fine, I will. And so I was like Googling, like, what could I call my secondary account? You know, what could I call it? And I couldn't figure out a name. And then I remembered that I had read it late because I was into comic books for a long time, but then, kids happen, wife happens, and bills
Hmm.
happen. And like, I can't do this all the time. They're kind of expensive. So I had read House of M, and I loved how those three words just changed the entire Marvel comic book universe, the MCU as we knew it,
Yeah,
because it was the comic book universe. And I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. Those three words just changed everything.
they did.
And and my wife was like, why don't you name it that? I'm like, yeah, I am. So I
Hmm.
named it No More Mutants right there. So I literally popped it up on the screen. Oh, it takes me off. Look at that. I know what to do. There you go. That particular scene, I'm like, that freaking blows my mind that she could say those three words. Those echoed for years to come, even in Uncanny X-Force.
Yeah,
Remember when
yeah,
they
you're
went into the
absolutely
alternate
yeah.
universe and
Yeah.
Wanda was already dead, but they had cloned
Yeah,
her?
it
And
was it was in the Age of Apocalypse, and she's like,
yeah,
and it's Jean who's like, Wanda, teach me no more
teach me.
mutants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she wants to, and no, boom, she says it. I'm like, oh my, but it only affected her and I think
yeah,
Sabretooth at the time. That I was like, dude, that to me is like the perfect account name, even though I'm only going to be showing X-Men and they
yeah,
are mutants, but I'm going to, base it off of what she said. So I did that and I started my account just posting X-Men comic book issues, like the covers, not in sequential order or anything, just I like this, I like that, I like this, I like
yeah.
that. And then, oh, well, there's interior panels too, by the way. I love this Jim Lee, I like this wall, Silvestri, I love all these, and then boom, boom, boom. And then let me throw in some X Factor in there. Oh, and let me throw in some X Force in there, and let me throw in some New Mutants in there. And I just stayed on that, and like, I gotta expand this. I'm running out of material. Let me do the Avengers. And the Marvel universe. Here's Nova, here's Silver Surfer, Galactus. And then I'm like, okay, I started a Batman page and that started taking off too. And I called it Screams from Arkham Asylum. Yeah. And my friend was like, dude, that's freaking genius.
That
And
is
I'm like,
genius.
dude,
Hey,
I
wait,
love
is that
that
still
freaking.
around?
I think it's still out there. It's live, but I haven't touched it in years.
Yeah,
Screams from Arkham Asylum. And I did that and I'm like, I am a Batman fan. I'm a little bit anime. I am a Star Wars fan. I am an X-Men Avengers. This is my universe. They all play together, kind of like the Indian in the
mhm,
cupboard movie where Darth Vader is fighting a dinosaur and like
yeah.
that's how kids play. That's how we think of it in our mind. And like I gotta just incorporate it. And when I did, the account blew up. My wife mocked me when I had 500 followers. My wife mocked me when I had 5,000 followers. She shut her mouth when I had 150,000. And then they're calling me like, hey, can you come to California? Can you come in? I'm like, yeah.
You're
She's
like, I'm
like,
available,
what?
yes.
Yeah, I'm available. Do you have any plans? I'm like, no, I'll definitely go to New York Comic Con. I'll go to Star Wars Celebration. Sure, Star Wars red carpet. I'll be right there. Not my favorite film out of the trilogies, but I got to be on a red carpet. So that was really cool. And just it's a passion of mine. I love it. And comic books were, what we read as kids to just get away. You can associate a comic book with a song in the sense like what song was playing on the radio when you read this. Like I still have that. I still have I think it's the Bangles.
Yeah,
Remember the
yeah, yeah,
Bangles?
of
And
course.
I was reading X
Hazy Shade
Factor
of Winter.
and I associate them with, X Factor, like issue 24 when
Hmm.
Angel loses his wings and comes
Yeah.
out as Death, and those type of things. And I still have it. So I bought omnibuses for my future
Mhm.
grandkids. I still have my floppies here. I have all my X-Men by Jim Lee, 9.8s slabbed inside the room.
Shut the
And
fuck up, 9.8. One of our
yeah, all of
co-hosts,
that.
Michelle Waffle Diddle, will go nuts with that.
Really, I
Yeah.
have all of his X-Men run on 9.8. The only one I'm missing is the annual. The annual's like hard to find. And the only reason why I got like that was because I'm like, okay, well, people are paying me every so often to do a post. Like, hey, can you say this is on sale and say that's on sale? And I'm not charging an arm and a leg, so they come back,
Yeah.
and like, hey, just tell them that this is on sale. So I've worked with like Unknown Comics. I've worked with
We love Unknown.
Trinity, IG Comic Store. When Brent ran it, he was the original founder. He sold the company, and then he started another company, Near Mint Plus, which I tell everybody, if you're going to look for something really pricey or in good quality condition, go to Near Mint Plus. And then every so often I've had Disney just call me like, "Hey, can you do a promo for The Mandalorian?" Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And I got my helmet on and I got my buff son because nobody wants to see a fat slob like me. So I get my buff son in it and they're like, "Yeah, dude, this is gonna sell." I'm like, "All right, awesome." And they'll
Like,
send a
thank
little
you.
check and I get a statue, I get another statue, I'll get a helmet. And my wife's like, "When is it gonna be enough?" I'm like, "Listen, if Louis Vuitton sent you a few purses for free, are you gonna deny them? Are you going to say, no, I don't want these? Please take these purses from me. Give me a break."
No, you're
So
gonna
that's
keep
how my
getting
account
those. Oh,
started.
I love it. Well, you know what I love about that is it's because you wanted to share content. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that because I'm sure you get DMs all the time from people being like, "Oh, I wanna start an account. I wanna have a
Yeah.
lots of followers." And it's like you just need to love what you're posting and
Yeah.
wanting to share it. And that to me is always like key with people I choose to surround myself with and talk because this stuff this means so much to us, like the
It
things we
absolutely
post.
does.
Like when you were talking about No More Mutants, I mean, I can tell you where I was at when I read No More Mutants, and especially that scene you were talking about, the the Age of
Yeah.
Apocalypse. And I will even say Rick Remender, I love him very much, but originally Wanda's spell was already affecting other realities, so
Yes.
why
Yeah.
didn't it hit the Age of Apocalypse, question mark, but that's okay. But
An
these
incursion
stories,
hadn't happened.
yeah, it just means so much to us. And these characters have a life of their own. So, yeah, I mean, it's important that we put it out there, that we amplify it. And I was saying this because someone on like the YouTube was telling me that I was the YouTube, I sound like a million years old there. But on the YouTube, I got
Baby,
a
are you on the
comment.
Facebook? What's the Facebook? That's my mom.
Oh, I know. I forgot. Oh my God. I'll tell you a story later. But I they were like, "Oh, you're being so negative," and I was like, I'm not being negative. I want these characters to thrive. I want
Yeah.
them to do good. I think for a long time we were excited about the MCU. We were excited about a lot of stuff that was happening in the comics, and we would be like, "Ralph, you need to see this movie. You need
Yeah.
to see that." And it's kind of like difficult when you're going through when you're going through peaks and valleys and you're at that low point, but at the end of the day, we love these characters and we want them to succeed. And that's why your
Absolutely.
community that you've built has resonated and
Well,
inspired so many
we've built
people.
it because I mean, you have a knowledge of X-Men. Like I love my X-Men, and I think I'm more top level where it's you get really down. You could give me, I'm pretty sure, a 5-page essay on the long shot,
Yeah.
four part miniseries, and telling me how good it is and why I need to read it. But like to me, it was like
Because it's the best mini series out there.
to me, it was finding those connection points of the parallels in my life in these
Yeah.
books. I could relate to the skinny kid who liked the gorgeous redhead that couldn't
Yeah.
get her because he was too skinny. And then later on he did. And you're like, yeah, you thought I was slim, didn't you? Now look at me. And he's looking all diesel. Look at him. He's looking diesel behind me.
Yeah.
Um, and I connected with that. I connected with just the fact of knowing of Spider-Man's history, knowing what he went through with Uncle Ben, with Stacy, with Gwen Stacy, with Captain Stacy, with all these people that were in his life that were friends that became foes and all that. And then to see him inside the what was it, the No More Mutant storyline,
Yeah.
the House of M,
Yeah.
when he
Where
comes to
he's with Gwen
realize it,
Stacy. Yeah.
where he's
That
Gwen
moment.
Stacy and he looks to the side and Uncle Ben is there and
Yeah.
he
And
just
he
woke up
flips out.
he flips out. He's crying. I mean, Spider-Man is legit. Peter's crying and Wolverine goes to talk to him and he's like, no, no, I'm not going to do this. That's my uncle. I held him as he died.
Yeah.
That's my girl. I held. And
Dude,
literally, how can
when
you
he,
ask somebody to do that? And then after, at the end, he still gets strange and he's like, just erase my memory. And he's
yeah,
like, I can't. And he's like, do it. And he's like, I can't do that. And Peter has to live knowing what happened in the House of M. I mean,
yeah, he wakes
that's,
up the next day with MJ. And
yeah,
I've always argued that Gwen Stacy is Peter's true love. Till this day, I
yeah,
think the writers
yeah,
still have that there. But that scene in House of M where Layla Miller unlocks his true memories and he
yep,
looks at Gwen and then it flashes to her neck snapping.
yeah,
It is, and they write snap, like the
yeah.
word snap is right there.
Yeah, and
And
it's everything. I mean, he
yeah,
sees Venom, he
yeah,
sees Carnage, he sees Doctor Octopus, he
yeah.
sees May, he sees Uncle Ben, and you're like, dude, this kid has lived a hard freaking life,
And
and you're like, God dang it, bro.
and when Layla Miller is like, what happened? What did I do? And someone's like, that's Gwen Stacy. She
Yeah,
died years ago.
yeah.
And Layla Miller, who's a kid there, it's just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like
She
it's the
didn't know.
gravity of
She's
these
a
stories.
kid.
The
It's the
gravity of
gravity.
these, it's the gravity of
Even
these stories.
even when Spider-Man, I mean, I am not a big Spider-Man fan per se, like, oh my God, Parker, oh my
Yeah.
God, the whole no, I understand. I love Peter, but
Yeah.
he's not my guy. But just knowing when he took off his mask and he said, my name is Peter Parker, and I've been Spider-Man since I've been 15 years old, and you see J. Jonah Jameson fall back and faint and sues him for every penny that he's given him as for a photograph. He's like, I'm going to sue him for everything he's got. He's lied to me. And you're like, oh my gosh, you did not think about the repercussions of you coming
No.
out, dude. This is big.
Yeah.
And then everybody
I hope
knew
he
who
has
he
those Stark
was.
lawyers there.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
he had Tony right next to him, and he's like, I back him up, I'll be right there with you. But he did not really understand that. And when I tell the story to my kids and they're like, wait a second, I didn't even think about that, Dad. I said, no, he sued him. And then all the enemies knew his name, knew his address, and went to go kill him, and they shot Aunt
Aunt
May.
May. Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, what happened next? And then you're like, well, then there's one more day. And you get into that, and Mephisto shows up, and the kid, and it's his daughter, and he's
Yeah.
telling her, he's like, I have to talk to my wife if you want my marriage. He's like, don't worry, I've already been talking to her. And there she is saying, I got to talk to my husband. You're like, dude, this is unbelievable writing.
It
And
is.
and that's what makes the story. Even when you saw the words that you could not read, and you're like, what the hell is that? And that wasn't there. That even happened in Fear Itself, not Fear Itself, when the Watcher lost his eye.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh my gosh,
and
oh my God, and I just
and Nick
original sin,
Fury,
original sin.
original sin,
Yeah,
original sin. And what did he say to you, son? What made you unworthy to hold the hammer? And
yeah,
he said Gore was right.
yeah.
And you're like, what? That was it? And you come to realize the Jason Aaron story comes to play. You're like, wow, this is a master class in what a web is, a real web. It's all intertwined. And that's what I love about the Marvel comic book universe. And that's what I love about the MCU, and there are issues that you and I would skip over, we wouldn't buy in a comic book. And you're like, this is not a good one, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But as a completist, I have to buy it. Just like a completist, I have to see She-Hulk. But it's not my favorite. But that being the case, it did add Kevin in there. It added breaking the fourth wall in the MCU, not the Deadpool film, and we can relate.
Yeah.
But we just hope, because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, that they right the ship. And I'm look, those four images, because you can't see the Dragon Ball Z behind Paul. They're all important to me. So even DC, I was a fan of the DC universe, and I was bummed that they were getting the crap that they were getting, dude. And a lot of people are like, "You're a hater." It's like, I'm not a hater. I want better for these
Yeah.
characters, dude. Like the Flash TV show, season one, two, and three were great.
Oh my God, they were so good. That season one,
Oh
man.
my God,
Oh, it
when
was
when you
great.
the reveal of the Reverse Flash, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And then you get what we got, and you're like,
Yeah.
what?
That was
What is this?
garbage. Yes.
Yeah, so you feel for these characters. Even I'm a Batman fan, and I love the mythology behind him and stuff like that, but he deserved better. I was happy what they did with Wonder Woman, but then they started just adding her in to Shazam just for the heck of it. And like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. But
They're not
we
being
do like our
strategic.
they're not being strategic. And I think they needed a Feige, which they have now with
Yeah.
James. They needed a Feige to steer where they want. Do we all feel that I want another Superman movie with another Superman? No, I think Henry
No.
Cavill is Superman.
That
He's this
that's
generation.
wild to me. I've heard that behind the scenes he's not a really good guy, and that's
I've heard
probably
that.
more. So
Yeah,
maybe there's a lot more politics at play there. But for me, it's like, why wouldn't you bring back out of all the actors to keep, Henry Cavill
correct.
would be the one to keep. So shit must have gone down with him.
It had to, but listen, I'm okay with bringing Henry into the MCU as a Beyonder
Oh
or as
yeah.
Captain Britain,
Oh,
Betsy's big brother.
100%.
Oh my gosh. Can you
Yeah,
imagine
I would love
the
it.
Captain Britain Corps? Oh my
He would
goodness.
he would be so great. I
Century, any one of these. Hyperion. Give me
yeah.
Hyperion to fight with along Thor, dude. That would be great.
I'm reading The Reign of the MCU, which is the book that just published. Well, I'm
Yep.
not reading it. I'm listening to the audiobook
Yeah.
because I've been
My wife
driving
says
a
the same thing.
yeah.
I'm reading. I'm like, you haven't picked up a book once.
But so they were talking about what makes the MCU special, and that was a lot of the post-production work. So a lot of these reshoots, but that Kevin Feige and a lot of the brain trust at Marvel, going back to Avi Arad, can look at a project and be like, okay, for some reason here it didn't land. We're not saying that that it's not a good show. We're not saying that's not a good movie, but for some reason it didn't land. And that's sort of how I feel when I look at things like She-Hulk and What If, with Secret Invasion. You can look at it and you can be like, well, I liked it, or it wasn't bad. And it's like, fine, it wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
these are supposed to be billion-dollar IPs.
Yeah.
You and I should be like, She-Hulk is in the MCU. Is she going to be in Captain America 4? What with the X-Men here? Is she going to be in
She's going to be the
Secret
attorney for the
Wars?
X-Men. She's
Yeah.
going to be doing Charles Xavier's will
Is she?
like she
Yeah,
did.
exactly. Is she going to be showing up as an attorney like Matt Murdock did? We should be having those conversations, and we're not. And
We're
and,
not.
and so there's something that happened with those projects. I think Secret Invasion is probably the worst one
Oh my
out of
gosh,
all of
that
them.
was
That
bad.
shit was DOA. I saw the first episode, and when Maria Hill is there on the floor dying, I'm like, okay, I'm not inspired to watch the next episode, and I'm good. I don't need to see this. I'm
Yeah.
fine. Thank you.
I
Goodbye.
I saw the first one and I saw who's the guy from Black Panther who's the secret spy in the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is, and then he's a squirrel. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
this is getting good.
Yeah.
But then, the Maria Hill thing happened. I'm like, okay, that didn't make sense. There was
No.
two or three scenes that were like pretty good, but the ending, good God, was that atrocious. You
Yeah.
have the greatest care, not the greatest, most powerful being now inside the MCU. What are you going to do? Because we still have not answered why is there a celestial stuck in the ocean?
No. No
No,
one.
nobody has said, by the way, in London, there was an actual anomaly where a head came out and said, come to me. And he pulled over, the Eternal. And like,
No
you're
one's talked
missing it.
about it. No,
Nobody's
I agree.
talking about
Well, they're
our
throwing
boy
so
Harry,
much.
Harry Styles, my
No.
daughter's favorite character, Harry Styles' character. She's like, where is he? He's not showing up. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, Mama.
Yeah.
They're not. They have a lot of um pot scoring at the same time,
Yeah.
but you got to be because people are going to fall out. You made a fan out of somebody because of that casting. You made a fan out of somebody because of the performance of that casting, or the music, or the action of this film, and then you let it simmer and dial down until it's cold again.
Yeah.
And now that person's got responsibilities and like, I can't go see this film, and you lost them
Yeah.
instead of keeping it moving. But what you need to do is make sure you strategically place these in order what needs to happen. And you have to have the powwow that they did in Endgame, which is the Russo brothers calling Gunn, can we kill Gamora? And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can kill Gamora
But
because I was going to kill her I was going to kill her instead of Yandu. He said that. He
yeah.
was going to kill Gamora instead of Yandu, and he's like, okay, I can still use that in part three. Okay, and then but we're going to bring her back as an alternate. Okay, you got me. Is this how Rocket sounds? Is this what Star Lord would sound like? No, he shouldn't sound like that. What music should we be playing? The Rubber Band Man. Okay, and they got feedback from the guy who was directing them for the future movies. That's what they all need to do. There has to be that pod of like, hey guys, I'm going to do this. Can the Punisher show up in the Echo TV show?
Yeah.
Because he is a kingpin enemy, and we did see Daredevil, and he did show up in the Daredevil series. Can we talk about Elektra? Can we not have a flashback? What are we doing? Those things have to happen,
I
and
it's as easy as jumping on a Zoom. That's it. That's all you need to do. It's wild to me that people are like, "Oh, we're so done with the multiverse. It's used as a tool to explain away anything," you know? And it's like, "No, you could have told a really good multiverse story if you connected things. If what
yes,
happened in WandaVision impacted Loki, if what happened in Loki impacted Spider-Man, you and I can theorize how all of
yeah.
this is connected, but they have not done the connections themselves. And so what you end up getting is this sloppy story that seemingly is going nowhere.
And I personally, I love seeing the alternate universe. When
Yeah.
we saw Age of Ultron and Rogue was married to Havoc,
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
People forgot about Rogue was married to Havoc. I love that. I like, oh, I never saw this take. Hold on. This kind of I could see this happen because they were in Uncanny Avengers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I can see that. Or the time Rogue kissed Colossus, nobody remembers that. Or that Colossus has a child from
Oh,
the
that comes
Savage
up
Lands.
all the fucking time, man. Like
Nobody
among like very specific X-Men fans remembers
but
it.
within the fans, but
Yeah.
like in the comic book, it hasn't been touched. But
Yeah.
like I love seeing all those alternate universes. You and I have talked about where is Havoc's daughter was the Wasp?
Yeah,
Where is
yeah.
she?
They
Kang
they've
took her.
actively chosen not to conceive her with the
Yes,
little Catherine. They're like, nope.
yeah.
And by the way, he has another son too from an alternate universe that he
With
should
who?
remember with Madeline from Mutant X. He has
Oh,
Scotty.
yes.
He has
Yes,
Scotty,
he
and
did have Scotty.
he should. I think there was a line in Peter Milligan's X-Men years ago where Havoc does in fact remember the Mutant X,
That's
universe.
good.
So that's Madeline and Wasp. I don't remember Rogue, to be honest with you. I'm actually Googling that now. I forgot
Rogue and
fully when.
Havoc. I think it was Age of Ultron, the comic book.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's a scene where literally Captain America's like looking at the shield, or he's bent over, the shield is broken, he's crying in one of the panels, and then you see them like talking, and you know,
That's
and
such.
I love all those alternate universes. I love
Yeah.
seeing that stuff and being part of it, and knowing there is an Age of Apocalypse, knowing there is this that happened, that happened, and I'm okay with that happening in the cinematic universe, but you got to do it right and you can't forget about it. So, like to me, what they did with No Way Home, where they had three different Peter Parkers, one that shoots web out of his wrist, and and two that have the machinery,
Yeah.
like that comes out of you, and that was great, dude. That
It
was
was a great acknowledging that. And they're like,
yeah,
is that the only place it comes out of? Whatever
yeah,
the joke was. It's fun, but
yeah.
that's what people want to see. Respect the continuity,
Correct.
you
Respect the
know?
continuity, but don't just forget about it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we're not going to mention that because whatever. I mean, I'm a diehard Jean fan. Jean is still like when you ask me who is the top three women in all of comics, top three
Yeah.
most beautiful women in all of comics, that would be Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor, and maybe a very far distant three, maybe MJ or Batgirl.
Yeah. You
That's
like your
it.
redheads.
I've always been a redhead guy, but it was like she 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 was great. Her character was great. Just the heartache that Scott felt, and that's why when I saw, I think it was issue 5 of A versus X, and they had like a digital panel that you had to scan a code and you could see a digital comic, and it was Scott on the moon.
On the moon and recreating Jean and talking to her.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this could go so many different ways, and what the ending we got, and I'm like, ugh. But I
Yeah.
was like,
Well, it didn't make any sense because Jean was supposed to be alive in the White Hot Room, and
yep,
she's the one who pushed Scott and Emma to be together. So you would have
yeah,
assumed when they get fragments of the Phoenix that they would have access to this. But yeah, there she is.
come
And
on,
that's from the Ultimate Alliance ending. Jean,
yeah,
where if you chose to kill her in Ultimate Alliance, she will come back seeking revenge as Dark Phoenix.
of course,
Love that.
she's
That's
she's the
it.
goddess, and I just think there's so much in there. that we like. No offense to Famke or even my girl's what's her name?
Sophie Turner.
Sophie, yeah. I mean, they had to deal with what they had to deal with, and they had the dealings between Fox and no Marvel, no Disney, but they were still overlording, and you can't say this, you can't say that. And yeah, we're gonna remove this, and Fox is gonna be purchased by Marvel. It's like we're just trying to make a movie. And they haven't done Jean right. They haven't done Jean justice. The only time that I literally my jaw dropped for Jean was when Logan saw her in the school in the Days of Future
Oh
Past, and
yeah.
I was like, oh my
I
God,
know. That
dude,
was
the
great.
gasp in the theater,
Oh, I
everybody,
know.
it
Everyone
was
went
like, oh
nuts when
my
they saw
God.
her. I
And then
agree.
when you see my boy Cyclops coming, like, hey, yeah,
And everyone started laughing. It was
yes,
like, Logan, what are
yes,
you doing? I was like, oh, there's
yes.
Cyclops.
But
The power of these
they did it
characters.
justice. They did
Yeah.
it justice, and I was like, okay, because when the trailer when the trailer was out and you saw the Sentinel carriers, that's what they
Hmm.
were, I thought, I'm like, those look like Ship. Remember
Yeah.
Ship
Yeah.
from X
Yeah. Of
Factor?
course. Of
I'm
course.
like, Apocalypse is coming. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they haven't
Yeah.
told us, but Apocalypse
Yeah.
is coming. The ship is there, and there's multiple. And I saw, and then the temple where they were at, where they were
Yeah.
fighting, and Magneto was
Where
fighting.
was it?
I,
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks like a Tibetan. They used to worship him,
Yeah.
and you go back to X Factor when he's given the spiel of, yeah, I was worshipped as death in many societies, and I was like, they're gonna bring Apocalypse, and we did get Apocalypse, but it wasn't what we wanted, and I thought he was going to be in that movie or something like that.
We
But
all thought that. I agree. We all thought that. And I remember the breakdowns. And it was very like early days of breakdowns and stuff like,
yeah,
and everyone was like, oh, they're in a temple for Apocalypse. They're going to try to get Apocalypse and they're going to do time travel with him. And
yeah,
I was so excited. Oh
yeah,
man. Dude, it has been such a pleasure speaking with
dude.
you.
I love you. So
I
anytime
love you, man.
you want to come chat out, or you want to save me from not being able to chat, because over here I can tell you about Grey's Anatomy. I can tell you.
I'm sorry for you.
I have to go downstairs and watch another episode of Grey's Anatomy, and this is like the fourth time we've seen this,
Oh
the
man.
seasons, and I
Oh
love.
man, I love that you're running through it. No, I've never seen a single episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, dude, you would be.
Yeah.
Look, I
You're like
I I
I
could get
hate
behind it.
watch it.
I tell you what, my son's a firefighter. He's
Oh,
27 years old this in a month.
happy
Good
early
looking
birthday.
stud. And his girlfriend came down. She's like, "Oh, what are you watching?" To my wife, and she's like, "Oh, I'm watching Grays."
Uh-huh.
And so she's like on her season that she's on, and my son's like, he's a firefighter. He's like, that's not what a paramedic does. That's not what. She's like, why don't you start watching it from season one?
Yeah.
He's now on like season three. He's like, it is pretty addictive, mom. I can give it to you. It is pretty addicting, and it's pretty good. The drama, it dropped off at a certain point, but hey, there are bad episodes in Grey's Anatomy. There's bad comic book issues, and
Just
sometimes
like
there's a bad.
everything,
Yeah,
everything out there, there's good and there's bad, man.
absolutely, man.
All right. Well, everyone knows your handle. It's at No More Mutants. Do you have any projects, collabs coming up
I work
that
every
you
so
want to plug?
often. By the way, this shirt is from White Gold Industries.
We
Uh,
Familia, we love White Gold Industries
yep,
so much.
you can
We
find
did.
him on Instagram, and he does. This was a collab between me and him. He has many. He doesn't just focus on X-Men. He has a Batman Predator combination right
Oh,
now.
it's so good.
He just did a Daredevil one, and he's amazing. And every Thursday I show up on the Hyperdrive channel on YouTube, and we geek out about Star Wars, and whether if it's Ahsoka or something like that, the movies, collectibles, and I'm a co-host with four other guys, and they're all amazing. So you can find me there on YouTube.